Hello and welcome to this channel. My name is Jade. I'm a child sleep expert, mum of two, and founder of the S.L.E.E.P Success Method. So today I'm going to talk you through my method, my framework, which has been designed to keep things really simple for parents when it comes to their child's sleep. When sleep starts to fall apart or feels disconnected, it can be really toughest to know exactly where to focus on. And this is what we're going to talk about today. So the framework itself, S stands for sleep pressure. L stands for looking at the signs, which is external things that can be going on in our little ones' lives, developmental leaps, a lot of things that we can't overly control. E stands for environments. The second E stands for evaluating sleep props. So that's where we dive into more sleep associations. Are there parts of their settle that are potentially disconnecting the sleep? And P stands for planning your goals. So anytime that sleep starts to feel misaligned for you, you can come back to this framework, work through it, and know exactly which bits that you need to focus on. Pressure. Let's dive into sleep pressure. And why is this important? For some babies, they can nap at different times in the day, doesn't impact their nights very much, and you can really go with the flow with their sleep. Now, for the majority of parents that I work with, this isn't often the case, and some babies are very time sensitive as to what their day sleep looks like, the timing of their day sleep, and how much that impacts the nights. So when I talk about sleep pressure, we're really talking about how much time they have in between when they wake up from one sleep and fall asleep for the next. So that could be from when they wake up in the morning to their nap or first nap, the time in between naps, or from nap to bed. It might be your child is no longer napping. So what that looks like in a 24-hour period, how long are they awake for in the day before bedtime actually happens? And like I said, a lot of kids can be quite time sensitive as to when this happens. Now, the truth is, we all hear about those 7 to 7 sleepers, right? But sleep changes all the time. So I'm going to give you an example here where we might have a 7-month-old baby who is transitioning from 3 naps down to 2 naps. Now, on a 3-nap day, they're not going to be in bed by 7 o'clock. And if they are, and we manage to get them over at that time, the chances are they've either had that bit extra day sleep or they've not had enough time between their nap and bedtime. It might bring some disconnect in the nights. So bedtime's going to have to naturally be a bit later to get those 3 naps in until they're really ready to transition. Okay, so that's one example. Another example might be that we have a 7-month-old who has just transitioned to 2 naps and might need a much earlier bedtime, might even need to be before 7 o'clock. Now, this cycle tends to crop up every so often depending on their sleep needs. So we see the same again, normally after the year mark, maybe between 12 and 14, 15 months when they're getting to a point of dropping another nap. And bedtime needs to be a little bit later because they've got 2 naps. They need extra sleep pressure to be able to get them through the night. If we get them to bed too early, we're going to find some disconnect. And again, this cycle kind of repeats until the nap drops. And what you'll find is that actually they need much less time awake because it's a really big shift and transition. And as they get older, their bedtime becomes a bit later and a bit later and a bit later. So try not to get too fixated on the 7 to 7. What we need to focus on is your child as a whole and what their needs are. Now, we can all go and have a look on Google and search really generic sleep schedules, depending on your child's age, which can be very helpful. But a guide for an 18-month-old online isn't going to serve every 18-month-old in the world, okay? They all have different sleep needs. They all need different timings, and some are high sleep needs, some are low sleep needs. So they're a great base and a good chance for you to kind of get an idea of where to start. So I'm going to quickly talk you through how to get that right for your child. So we can take a look at averages. If you don't have an average guide that you trust, please do get in touch. Happy to send you over what I've got. Now, when we talk about time awake, I always recommend to start on the lower side. Even if the settle is a little bit harder, they might not be quite ready for sleep yet, we get a true reflection on actually how long they take to settle. That's a really important factor when we're trying to figure out what their ideal sleep pressure is. Normally we focus on how long the nap is, when's bedtime, but actually how long they take to fall asleep is really important. So if they are taking maybe 20 minutes, half an hour to fall asleep for the nap, chances are they're probably not tired enough yet. But by starting it off early, we can rule out them being past their ideal point of falling asleep. So start off early and increase it as you need to go. Same with bedtime. Start off earlier so that we can rule out that they're not overtired, their cortisol's really pumping through to make sure that they're staying awake. And then we can increase it. So start on the smaller scale, use those averages, but then use it to guide you to find your baby's ideal. Keep track. Now, I know keeping track of sleep isn't for everybody, and as parents, we don't need something else to do in our day when our days are already manic enough. But actually keeping track can be really effective. It helps you see if there's any sudden changes. It helps you see what's working best for the days, what's bringing the best nights. And these are just some really simple things that you can do right here, right now, to help you get an idea of actually what they need as their own little person. And again, even if they're a little bit older, try times if they've cut the nap. Earlier might be better for them. Again, we get fixated or scared to do earlier bedtimes. Quite often it makes a big difference. Now, this is also important if you're seeing things like split nights, early rises, frequent night wakenings, and say nothing else has changed. Chances are there's a disconnect in sleep pressure somewhere. Now, I don't think any of us really think about the term overtiredness until we become a parent. Some people don't think it's a thing. I know firsthand it is a thing, where when babies are too far stretched, or children are too far stretched, adults as well, it has a negative impact on our sleep ahead. It could be that they're nearing a nap transition, but they're not quite ready yet. If they have a no nap day, they're up really early the next day instead, or they have a big split night. That's because their cortisol levels are just going and going and going until sleep happens, and it's impacting the rest of their nights. Now, equally, if they're not tired enough, that can have a similar impact in the nights where, they've not had enough time in between naps and bedtime, for example. That might bring a disconnect in your nights and again early rises. So it's really important to get an idea on where they are on the scale, what their sleep needs are, and it's going to make sleep feel much easier to stay on top of, easier to identify changes so that it doesn't feel like a constant roller coaster. So that's my top tip for you today. Check out the other episodes to get the rest of my framework. And if you've got any questions, let me know. You can get links in the bio where you can access the courses, the book that's going to dive in much more deeper into this. I'm here for you anytime.